So I just bought this blue Yeti, and I'm going to tell you a few things about this. This mic was launched around 11 years back, 2010. It seems to be a mic, but when it was launched at that date and time, it was an idea, not just a simple mic. And the reason is this is the world's first microphone to be THX certified. So THX gives certifications for speakers, audio devices, even laptops. So this is the first microphone in the world to be THX certified. And even though this one does not have a THX logo, the thing is that the ones launched in 2010 did come with a THX logo. And if you go and read the documentation, they built it to the same standard and quality. So the reason why they did away with the THX logo and the certification is because they have to pay some sort of royalty to THX to be able to put their logo here. Given all that, the reason why it was a revolutionary thing in its days, I'm not going to review this mic because there are enough reviews on the net. But this is almost now dated. There is Yeti Nano, Yeti X, Yeti Pro, and all sorts of bells and whistles. And now this company has actually been acquired by Logitech. And Logitech has acquired this one, and they have put the Blue Sherpa software into their Logitech G-Hub. So it gives you a million settings to be able to do compression, limiting, equalization, vocal, reverb, and all the bells and whistles. Now the thing is, the only drawback that I see is in that software you cannot monitor those effects directly. What you can monitor is your dry voice, the signal that this is capturing, not the one that is being processed by the software. You can not directly monitor it. You can monitor it after it is recorded. That said and done, the reason why this thing was revolutionary is because in 2010, there were barely any YouTube podcasters, very few. There were some singers because of the reality shows and all those things which were coming up, right? And that day, if you wanted to record something at home at high quality, what you could do is you could get a gaming headset because laptops were quite few. And those laptops also did not come with quality microphones, right? So you could buy a headset like this, something like this. And if you remember computers and desktops of those days, these headsets used to have two outputs. So one was for the headphone and one was for the microphone, right? So at the back of a desktop computer, you would find a green and a red port, and you could plug in the mic into that. However, if you were to buy a professional mic, so this is the Shure Sm58, and it comes with quite a few suffixes like SM58. S means the one that comes with a switch. This one has a switch. So you could turn it on and off. However, this mic would require a cable, auxiliary cable, XLR cable, which would be like this. So if you look into this goes in directly and plugs. However, these aux cables, these XLR cables would come with the 6mm jack, which would not go into the computer, right? And even if you got a 6mm to 3.5mm adapter, you could plug it into the computer. However, the computer would not pick up the sound because this is a balanced output, and computers are not used to accepting those. The pin compatibility is not there. So essentially, you needed an interface to be able to connect it to your computer. One thing was you could, have an audio mixer, and then you could record externally, and then import it into a computer, but you see the kind of clutter and overhead it came with. And then you had something of an interface that Shure launched. So Shure launched this interface, X2U, and it has 3 knobs, one for microphone gain. So you could see you could adjust the sensitivity of the mic in a sense. Then you had this volume, which was for direct monitoring of the audio. You could monitor the mic as well as the computer audio. And the third knob would allow you to balance between direct microphone monitoring and computer audio monitoring. It also came with this little knob button for 48-volt phantom power, because this external power is required for condenser microphones. So this Shure that we have, this is a must in the arsenal of any stage singer. These audio arrangements, these arrangers also keep it. And this is a time-tested mic. I think it was released in 1966. It is that older model, right? You would think that it is dated, but it is Shure. When you definitely, positively want something to happen, no risks, this is the tank of a mic. It is a dynamic microphone. So it works on the same principles as a speaker. There's a diaphragm, and that diaphragm moves depending on your voice. And there's a coil attached to the diaphragm, which generates some kind of electric current, comes out of here. And this thing is then amplified. What this does is, it takes the analog signal from this end, and from here you have a USB connector, which carries the digital output and connects it to the microphone, right? So this is a classic of all times. If you're singing on the stage, this is the one that you would be singing with. It has got 1 million clones, and good companies have actually cloned this mic, good reputable companies. So that's that. And then I also have this Shure 55SH series. This again is a classic mic. It's called Elvis mic. So if I just turn it around and show it to the camera, the Shure 55SH Unidyne, that sort of thing. And this again is a classic. My father had one of these. Yes, so I was a boy when I tore it apart and tried to look into it. But this again is a classic. So now you see that in 2010, when you were looking for a mic so that you could record your vocals or podcast or anything of that sort on the computer, you had very little options, very few options. So you could go with a headset, which is just another one of those trashy things. You could go with the computer audio, which again is not up to the mark, not professional grade. And then, of course, you could get one of these. But when you went with this one, this thing was so new that a lot of people did not understand what this beast is. Now, the name is Yeti. And Yeti is a name for a monster of a chimpanzee or a monkey, if you would, because it does stand like a Yeti. And Yeti is a word for that beast in the East. Yes? The word translates to Bigfoot in the West. Yes? It translates to Bigfoot in the West. So it does look like Bigfoot. And it's heavy, solid metal construction. It's not, doesn't seem like Bakelite or heavy plastic. It's really heavy. You could use this thing as a weapon, But I'd say if you were to use this thing as a weapon versus this one would fare better. Right? Now, the thing with this thing is it connects, it is THX certified, so that's for the marketing part and also a quality assurance kind of thing. But it has direct monitoring, so you can plug in your earphones into this and you can listen to yourself as you speak. What happens is when you're speaking into these mics, you don't know what kind of audio output you're getting, right? And if you plug in your headphones to monitor some sort of a vocal track, backing track, then you don't know what is going into this. So this thing allows you to listen to the vocal track and your own audio at the same time, so you can directly monitor it. And this directly goes into the computer, so you can directly record into Audacity, Audition, whatever recording software you're using. Now, that being said, this is a big problem solver, right? Because in those days, when you were looking for an analog to digital interface to connect your microphone, there were cheap Chinese ones. And the problem with those was that they would downsample your audio. The sampling rate was so poor that it would almost sound like a telephone voice. And this one has 16-bit of depth plus 44.1 kilohertz of sampling rate to 48 kilohertz sampling rate. This one is connected through one of the recent things which Shure has launched. This is the MVI audio interface. So this allows you to do the same thing at the back. The mic connects at the back, and you have a monitoring port with which you can plug in this 3.5 mm headphone, so you can listen directly. And the thing that strikes me the most is, of course, it connects through the USB. It's got touch controls. You can tap this button to mute the microphone. And I'm unmuted now. You can adjust the headphone volume. There are 5 modes to switch between speech, vocals, music instruments, recording from the speaker, and then there is a flat mode as well. So it gives you the flat frequency response. However, this does come with a software application which allows you to program it. And of that programming thing, what you can do is it has limiter, compressor, equalizer, and also a built-in 20 decibel boost. So if you have a microphone which does not pick up sound all that well, you can actually boost the audio by 20 decibels. It's hard fixed to 20, so either you get 20 or you get nothing. It also has phantom power. I am not able to see. Yeah, it does have phantom power. I don't know. I don't remember how you would turn it on or off. Maybe there's a touch control or something. I've not researched it well. Phantom power. All right. So that's this. So this basically is a successor to X2U connector from Shure, right? This had only 16-bit of depth. This has 24 bits of depth. However, you also have Yeti Pro, which had 24-bit of depth. And there's Yeti X, which was launched somewhere around 2017. However, that said, there are a lot of misconceptions about microphones, especially when this microphone market got democratized, so to say. Everybody has a microphone these days, right? Good or bad, everybody really wants some kind of a, anchor which they can pull around and show around on a camera, and they would have a podcast microphone, a very heavy microphone. You would not really be able to tell the quality because YouTube does its own thing and it crunches the audio and everything. But everybody has a mic these days. The thing is, the misconceptions is that I heard someone saying that the Blue Yeti has a digital signature. And I don't know what you mean by digital signature. Maybe you're new to the world of microphones. That is why you think of it as a digital signature, but all the audio that is being recorded these days is digital. Essentially, it passes through some sort of a pipeline, which is a signal chain, which is digital. So whether you convert you connect this mic to the computer or that mic to the computer, there is going to be some kind of an analog to digital conversion. There's no escaping that. So that's about the quality. This one has so quality, it's indiscernible to the human ear, right? Of course, it's a condenser mic, so it is very, very sensitive. It would pick sounds from far off. And of course, we are sitting in a room which is not soundproof, so you can hear the noise of vehicles passing by and everything, right? Also, this has 3 microphones inside it. So at the from the exterior, it may seem like it's just a microphone. It has 3 capsules inside it, 3 condenser capsules inside it. One is at the back, one is pointing towards the back. There are 2 pointing towards the speaker that is me, right? 2 pointing towards me. And then there is a dial, so you can switch between stereo. Omnidirectional means it'll pick sounds from all directions. Stereo means it'll pick from left and right of the capsules. Then there is cardioid pattern, so it'll pick more of the vocals from the front and reject the ones from the back. And then there is a bidirectional. Bidirectional means it'll pick up from back and front and not from the sides. Sides would be reduced. And the thing is, I saw another YouTube expert saying that the stereo mode is meant for when you're interviewing someone, so someone would speak from the left side and someone would speak from the right side. Now, would it be natural for someone to be putting on the headphones wherein the interviewee is speaking from the left side and the interviewer is speaking from the right side? And like, you'd always be, your mind would have to do a lot of magic to figure out what's going on. Another expert said you should always record in omnidirectional or cardioid pattern if you're recording music or instruments. The thing is that despite all the classic microphones you have, this one, these are all single channel audio microphones or mono. Human speech human hearing is stereoscopic, right? So that is how you're able to figure out the distance and the location and the direction of the sound that is coming in, right? And not only are you able to figure it in the 2-dimensional plane, you're also able to figure it out in 3-dimensional plane, because you have these ears and you have the ear pinna. This part of the ear is called the ear pinna. And the shape of this determines how your brain processes those signals to assess whether the sound is coming from the top floor or the bottom floor, right? Left, right, back, forward, that's all covered by the stereo, but up and down is covered by the shape of this ear. Now, if you're not recording in a stereo, your guitar is going to sound just like any other instrument. But the moment you record anything in stereo, even your vocals, it's going to open up that 3-dimensionality of the soundscape that you're performing in, right? That entire landscape becomes more natural to the human ear. And these days, they're even experimenting with binaural audio. So what they did is, essentially, there was this company doing a research and they reproduced the human head. So let's say the sound is coming from this direction. The sound first comes into my right ear. My left and right is mixed up. So my right ear, and it travels to this ear then. So there is a slight delay. Of course, it bounces around my ear pinna. It also, the reflections from these walls and all the space around me also enter the left and the right ear separately at different delays, different intervals. And I'm able to figure out the bus that is passing by, if there is a threat coming my way, if there is a line approaching me, all those sort of things. So this binaural audio is such a beautiful thing to listen to, and you'd find a lot of binaural audios on YouTube, which also go about trying to use binaural audio waves to change the way you think and to alter your dreams and assertions and whatever you have. So there is some kind of a spiritual side to it. Not even sure spiritual or occult, but they use this binaural audio to change the way you think, right? So this is the Yeti. Comes with a mute button, volume control, a gain control, and some patterns. The Yeti X actually has digital controls, so you can touch. It comes with a single knob or two knobs, maybe. I'm not sure about it. You just touch it once, and then you can control what thing you're trying to control. For example, you can touch it once and control the microphone gain. Then you can touch it once to control the headphone volume. Then you can touch it another time to balance the mix between the computer audio and your direct monitoring. And it's got some LEDs around the knobs, so you can actually monitor the input level this mic is receiving. Right. Of course, I was slightly carried away by the Logitech G-Hub, which has a billion effects. And of course, the key controls have some fine tuning as well. So it's not just that you can increase the compression or decrease the compression. You can actually click on those three dots in that software and fine tune the attack and delay and recovery and all those sort of things. However, you cannot monitor it real time, so you don't know. You'll actually have to record after making every change. You'll have to record a bit and see what works for you. That being said and done, MVI allows you to monitor it directly. You can actually monitor the equalizer as well. So you can change the equalizer and you can hear yourself what equalization you have applied, what kind of compression you have applied, and all those things. You can program it once and then you carry it away and plug it into a different computer. Those settings stay the same, right? But if you're a guitar player, a vocalist, this mic is a game changer, I'd say, because there is absolutely nothing which is accessible in this price range which allows you to record in stereo. The left and the right channel, even though those capsules are sitting right one on top of the other, I think these are 14 mm capsules, but no two capsules are the same. If every capsule has its own properties, slight variation, right? Even if it is 6 Sigma certified and everything, there's a slight variation. Though no two things can occupy the same place at the same time, right? In the three-dimensional space, you cannot, two different things cannot occupy the same space-time domain, right? So there is a difference in the capsules, of course, manufacturing variations, I'd say. There's a difference in the placement, and there's a difference in the way sound is captured. One is looking into that direction, one is looking to that direction. So all those properties actually give it the width of a stereoscopic image, right? And if you buy any large condenser microphones, you'll have to buy 2 of them. And then you would have to, also make sure that they're matching. You have to buy matching pieces. You'll have to connect 2 of those, record in left and right, pan them to left and right, and then record it. Of course, mic placement is another science in itself. So if you're recording in stereo, you also have to make sure that that audio is stereo compatible, mono compatible, sorry. Because one is recording something, the other one is recording something, and if they're out of phase, 180 degrees out of phase, they would cancel each other. So in mono, what you hear is nothing but some noise or some sort of a weird silence. So that's a different science, but yes, if you know for sure that you're going to be hearing it on headphones or even on stereo speakers, as long as you're not listening to it on your cell phone, which has a single speaker, stereo recording is a must. And stereo has a beautiful image. I mean, like if you go and listen to guitar recorded in stereo or flute or any instrument recorded in stereo, it brings it to life, right? Mono is like, something is speaking from center of your head, but stereo is something like something is sitting in front of you and it's playing out. So this is the Blue Yeti. They have not sponsored this. I'm not being paid to sponsor this, but just bought it. The hype is so real. I mean, like you'll find very polarizing videos of some people hating this microphone, some people loving this microphone, comparing it to Shure M7B or something of that sort. It's a microphone which is pitched at the podcast audience. But if you're looking for a condenser mic, which has a beautiful frequency response, a beautiful sensitivity, THX certified, stereo, connects directly to the computer. There's the one. So which one do I find better? I think this one is a beautiful microphone just for the presence of it, even though it feels like another head hanging right in front of my face. It's a classic design, classic microphone. It works and it sounds beautiful. It's time tested. So you cannot go wrong with this, right? This one, the Shure Sm58, these are time tested microphones, right? So you cannot go wrong with these, and it would be unfair to compare this one with this. So a lot depends on what you're using them for, right? When you're on the stage, there are some considerations like you will be the chances of dropping this microphone are, so great. It's very easy to just stumble over the cable and drop this mic or just pull it away. This windscreen can, this windscreen can get a bump, all those sort of things. However, the handling noise is very, very good. So, and of course the cardioid pattern, so the noise coming from the audience side is very less. The sound coming from the audience side is very low. Whereas it captures directly from the front. If you twist it away from you, the audio levels go down. So this is meant for that. This is a broadcast microphone. So in those days when there were radio stations broadcasting, so this would sit on the desk and they would broadcast with this one. Elvis, right? This, you would find that famous picture of Elvis flying with this microphone, several pictures, and then this has become a classy in a way that if you are a singer, you have to have at least one photo shoot with this microphone. So you'd find a lot of singers around the world flying this microphone. I bought it because I broke my dad's. So I bought it in that memory. So I'd have this somewhere to show to my kids and just as a souvenir from that era, because even though these are the ones that have been launched recently. However, if you're a podcaster, if you want a home studio, voiceovers, studio environment, basically, if there's anything you want to do in a studio environment and you're looking for that frequency response, computer compatibility, stereo width, this microphone is irreplaceable. It's not because it has got an astounding performance or audio quality or it beats these microphones, but these microphones don't go into the computer directly. There are other competitors which go into the computer directly. You don't need a USB interface. This is directly computer compatible. Stereo, you would not find a stereo. There are a lot of condenser mics good quality condenser microphones, but this is the only one that comes in stereo. It's heavy, solidly built, sits quietly on the desk, comes in so many colors, and of course the shape is Yeti, uh, Bigfoot. But this mic, at this price point, it is irreplaceable, even 10 years down the line. And of course, it has a new sibling, Yeti X. So even though this piece may have been manufactured in this year or the last year, this is the same generation that was launched in 2010. There's a classic blue Yeti mic, 2010 launched. Except for the THX logo, there's hardly any other difference except for the internals. So there is a circuitry inside it, so that PCB has undergone some revisions. So every time they find a flaw in the next batch they launch, they would correct those mistakes, and of course those sort of things are there. But other than that, this is the same classic piece. It's just that it may belong to a different generation. You may not be able to figure it out until unless you have the part number or the serial number, basically. But that's that. This is the model that was launched in 2010. It comes in black, it comes in silver, it comes in gray, it also comes in blue and various shades of pink. So if you have a feminine side, so you can of course go with the pink version. All right, any other questions? So maybe then in the next few podcasts we'll talk about other stuff related to technology and our own domain expertise. But this is the long and short of microphones in the last 10 years. May not even be 10 years, but at least you see we've covered a fair bit of microphones from 1966 to 2010, and the one we are using in 2021. There's some sort of shortage in supply because Yeti X is not available here. However, we have 3 microphones, 2 of which are classy, and it would be a little while before this one turns into a classy thing in itself. There's going to be an iconic mic. I think it's just it just needs to age a little. Once this model ages, or once this model becomes a limited edition or limited production, this certainly will be in huge demand.